Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and we have as our co-host again today, Amanda Wares.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going great.
Great to see you again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
And again, we're not in the studio, but we're at my house.
Yep.
And so it's a beautiful fall day, and we'll just enjoy it together. What do we have today?
All right. Today in Homeschool News, we will give the last chapter of our history of homeschooling in North Carolina.
Exciting.
Yes. And tell you about a free chess workshop that you can participate in. Nice. And then in Homeschool Conversations, we'll listen to a conversation that T. Essence had with Laura McKinney Adams, a second-generation homeschool mom. And then we'll talk to Debbie Mason, our media and events director. And then, once again, we'll have Homeschool Helps with Amanda live.
That's right. Exciting.
Yes. Today, I'm going to give you some tips about homeschooling preschool age children. All right,
good.
Yeah.
So before we dive into news again, I want to give you a little wisdom from the Word. I think if I were to ask you guys, what is the most famous homeschool Bible verse? It might be Deuteronomy 6, where it says, teach them diligently while you sit in your house and while you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up.
Yes.
What's important is not to forget what you're supposed to be teaching. And so if you back up to verse 4, it says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. One really big mistake it's easy to make is for children and adults to believe that Christianity is about being good.
Right.
It's about being a good person, which it is. It doesn't not mean that,
Right.
but it means more than that. God wants us to love him. So I'm reminding myself, and I'm trying to remind you to keep it in my mind, that it's not just about, well, to follow Jesus, we just want to be good and do the right things. It's way more than that. Somehow we want to exemplify, we want to teach, we want to inspire our kids to give their hearts to God, to love him, to think about him, to worship him, to talk to him, to enjoy fellowship with him. So anyway, this is just an encouragement for you to keep that in mind while you're teaching God's word, talking about what it means to follow Jesus, just doing homeschool, that giving our hearts to the Lord is the main hope and the main goal.
So important.
All right, so let's go to homeschool news. This is our last segment, our last portion of homeschool law. Been an amazing journey, and now we're going to skip all the way to 2013 when a new law is established. After 25 years of living with the homeschool law, one hiccup kept nagging the homeschool community. The definition of homeschool in the law was, quote, a non-public school in which one or more children of not more than two families or households receive academic instruction from parents or legal guardians or a member of either household. Because of this, the Division of Non-Public Education, which oversees homeschooling in North Carolina, interpreted the homeschool law to require homeschool parents to provide all fundamental core instruction, like language arts, math, science, and social studies. Rufus Edmiston, the North Carolina Attorney General, had even issued an opinion saying this. However, ever since the 88-89 school year, NCHE had a running debate with DNPE. NCHE took the position that the law didn't require the parent to personally provide all the fundamental instruction, that they could get help outside of the home when they needed it. According to the DNPE interpretation, no one outside the home, including grandparents, could provide fundamental education.
Wow.
Parents who had children with learning disabilities still could not employ a specialist to help their children. Co-ops where fundamental instruction was provided were not in compliance with the homeschool law.
Wow. While this debate with DNPE was going on, NCHE advised homeschoolers to tell their legislators, we like our law, please don't change it. The reason for this incongruence was twofold. One reason was that DNP had implemented a don't ask, don't tell policy. Most homeschool students were getting help from outside the home and were not suffering any consequences. And two, We were concerned that opening up the law with legislative action could result in more homeschool regulation. However, through the years, NCHE had been contacted by several homeschool parents who were negatively impacted by the DMPE interpretation. NCHE had not attempted to change the homeschool law since May of 1988. Since then, NCHE had focused on being a watchdog and sometimes an attack dog to protect homeschooling rights in North Carolina. However, 2013 was an opportune time to go on the offensive because of the results of the November 2012 elections.
In the fall of 2012, the NCHE Legislative Committee began to ask. Actually, I'm going to stop. No, it's too late. In the fall of 2012, the NCHE Legislative Committee began to ask, if we could change the law to fix this problem, what would it look like? After the November election, Spencer Mason proposed that the Legislative Committee support changing the homeschool law and was authorized by the board to do so. At the beginning of the process, we met with several homeschool groups in the state to explain the goal and ask for advice. In addition to these meetings, NCHE consulted with homeschool dads who were attorneys, HSLDA, legislators, and legislative bill writers. The overwhelming majority of homeschoolers who responded were in favor of our efforts. However, we began to hear from a small but vocal number of homeschoolers who opposed changing the law in this way. There were several objections, but the primary reason was fear that attempting to change the law for the better might result in a worse law. NCHE was well aware of this danger.
Much time was spent on the wording of the definition of a homeschool. Once we settled on the best definition, we got sponsors in the House and Senate, and our bills were filed. We spent a lot of time lobbying legislators on both sides of the aisle, and we had considerable help from the homeschool community, especially a newly formed Political Action Committee, NCCHE. Our bills passed every vote unanimously with no changes.
Wow.
Yeah. Here is the definition in the new law. Homeschool means a non-public school consisting of the children of not more than 2 families or households, where the parents or legal guardians or members of either household determines the scope and sequence of academic instruction, provide academic instruction, and determine additional sources of academic instruction.
Okay, so that's the new current definition of the law since 2013. And once again, we have a personal note from Debbie Mason, who's been providing these for us over the weeks. Spencer lost his job shortly before he took on the leadership of getting this bill passed.
Wow.
And it's a good thing that he had the time to devote to it because it took all his time. It was basically a full-time job.
Wow.
It was an exciting time watching the bill pass unanimously on all votes, even with legislators who do not like homeschooling. So, I'm not glad Spencer lost his job.
No.
But I'm glad Spencer lost his job. I mean, the Lord knows, and He's provided for them. And we just want to thank the Masons because over these years, they have been on the front lines, a part of this whole process.
Yes, absolutely.
This concludes the posts, and Debbie's writing my posts on North Carolina homeschool history. Over the past 40 years, homeschooling has grown from a small group of radicals to a large community and has become a well-accepted form of education. However, there have always been those who want to curtail our success and add regulations to limit our freedom. NCHE has grown and evolved to meet the changing needs in the growing homeschool world. From the beginning, we have had the goal to make this a great state in which to homeschool. From making it legal to providing encouragement and equipping, North Carolina is a great state to homeschool because of NCHE.
Absolutely. I agree.
And we can say that, we can brag about NCHE even though we're leading NCHE because we didn't do this.
No.
I mean, these are the people who've been working for decades before we even got here to make sure that this is a great state to homeschool in. So 100%. We're thankful, and we hope you guys are thankful.
Yes.
All right. One other thing very quickly on the news is we have a chess demo lesson for free. So it's called Chess Demo Lesson to Learn Problem Solving. This is going to be this week on November 17th. The lesson is for beginner players and newcomers to the game. It will cover the basics of chess as well as beginning chess strategy and exercises that will improve students' logical skills. So this is a super interactive, entertaining, educational workshop and is taught by a former top 10 player in Canada.
Wow.
Who teaches better than he plays.
Neat.
So anyway, you can go to nche.com/chess workshop and sign up for this for free. Also, you will then be able to, if you're a member of NCHE, sign up for more classes and get a discount if you're a member of NCHE.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow, how fun. All right, now it's time for our homeschool conversations. So first, let's listen to a conversation that T Essence had with Laura McKinney Adams, a second-generation homeschool mom.
Great, let's check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Laura.
Hey.
Thanks for coming to sit and talk with me. So I know we talked earlier, and you said that you are new to coming to conferences, but you're not new to homeschooling. So what has been your experience with homeschooling?
Okay, so my mom started homeschooling me in 1999.
Wow, okay.
Pretty sure she came to NCHE in the late 90s as well. My mother-in-law homeschooled for 21 years.
Wow,
And is now
awesome.
finished. My mom still has 4 years to go with my little sister.
Okay. So you and your husband are both second generation
We are,
homeschoolers.
yes.
Okay. So did you ever consider any other option, or it was like, no, that's what you do?
Honestly, like one of our, probably in the first 5 dates, we
Okay.
talked about homeschooling. It was just always something that we really felt very passionate about. We felt that
Okay.
we both had really awesome experiences.
Awesome. What would you say one of your favorite experiences from being homeschooled would be?
I would say probably one of my top things. I was very involved in NCFCA, which is a Christian Homeschool Speech and Debate League. They
Yes,
actually
I've
have a
heard about
booth
it.
here in the vendor hall, which was an amazing experience for me, learning about critical thinking skills and communication and debate and logic and all those great things. And those skills have really served me well in my adult life.
Super cool. Okay, but now you're here in a
Yes.
new role, not as a student, but as a mom. So what are the ages of your kids?
So I have a 6-year-old son,
Okay.
a 4-year-old son, and a 2-year-old daughter.
So you're busy.
Yes, very busy.
And this is your first conference as a mom.
Yes.
So tell me, has this been helpful for you? And if so, how?
Yes, it's been amazing. So I would say the workshops I've gone to have fallen into 2 main categories.
Okay.
So one is more like the practical, how do I teach phonics?
Okay.
There was one I went to called Color the Water Blue, and it was about what you do with pre-K through second graders, which is
Okay.
kind of my focus at this point in my life. But then there's also some that are more like general parenting, mothering, and so like Rachel Carmen is fantastic for that. She's so practical and down to earth and animated. She really keeps your attention.
Yes.
And I just left feeling so encouraged that like I can not grow weary in well doing, like it says in the Bible, because it is very busy.
Yes, it is.
Homeschooling is absolutely my passion project, but at the end of the day, like I've got to fix snacks, I've got
Yes.
to change diapers, I'm making another meal, and it is really easy to get beat down, discouraged. So I feel like with Thrive, it helps me to thrive. It helps
Yes.
me kind of have that energy to keep going.
That's awesome. So what advice would you give to, I mean, I know you're a new homeschool mom yourself, but if there's another new homeschool mom out there and they have not come to this conference, what is a takeaway that you have that you would tell that mom?
I would say definitely look at the list of the speakers and the sessions before you get here, because if you wait until you get here, you've got 8 options, and
Yes.
it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And try to think kind of what are your needs in this moment, because we have
Okay.
different tracks. We have the beginners, we have the older elementary kids, we have the high schoolers. So kind of think through like, okay, so what I'm worrying about right now is my son's going into first grade. So I'm worrying about first grade. I'm worrying about keeping my toddler contained while
Yes.
I teach him, And so I'm in that season. So kind of think about what's helpful for you and where you're at right now in your life.
Awesome. Okay. And if NCHE could do anything to help support you during this busy season and new homeschooling for you, what would that be?
I really enjoy the weekly emails because it
Okay.
kind of just gives me a couple little things to look at and a fun little video to watch with
Yeah.
you and Mr. McDill. But it just kind of helps me to feel like, I'm not alone. Like we're all over the country. We're all over
Absolutely.
the North Carolina homeschool numbers, I'm sure have really exploded.
Yes, they have.
And you're not alone.
Yeah.
There is support and there are people willing to help you. You can reach out to your regional liaison. I'm Region 5. Ours is fantastic.
Yes, she is.
If you need help finding people locally to you, because I also think that local community is just very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that I met you and that we got to connect, and I hope to continue to see you here at Thrive next year.
You too. Thank you, T Essence.
Awesome. Bye.
So it's pretty encouraging to hear from someone who was homeschooled
Yeah.
and decides to keep homeschooling.
Yes.
That's got to mean something, right?
Oh, it's wonderful.
And so We're also a part of NCFCA, which she talked about. My kids are doing speech and debate, and they love it. I thought that was a great thing for her to bring up. The other thing I loved is that she likes the email every week.
Yes.
So I just want to point out, if you don't get the weekly email from NCHE, it has all the news of everything that's going on, then you definitely want to do it. If you go to nche.com, there'll be a button right on the front, right on the homepage, where you can subscribe to the weekly email.
Absolutely. All right, now let's listen to a conversation that Matthew had with Debbie Mason, our media and events director.
And she's the one, well, she'll say it in the video, who writes the weekly email.
That's right. All right.
So we are at the 2022 Thrive Homeschool Conference with basically the person who planned it. Isn't that right?
Yeah,
This
I
is Debbie
guess you could
Mason,
say that.
our events director and the chair of the conference committee who plans the whole conference. Also our media director and edits the greenhouse. And of course we could list 55 more things that you do.
Well, let's see. The weekly email and social media are the
That's right.
two, and the greenhouse. That's the kind of big ones in the media hat.
Is there any of those that you enjoy the most?
I love lots of parts of the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love putting it together and getting it all organized. And there are some parts of it that I could do without.
And you've been serving with NCHE for how long?
Oh, since we joined in '85. We weren't, but back then there were so few of us as members that we all were involved. Like I started working on the conference the next year. So I wasn't on the board, but I was helping with conference speakers and stuff like that. But we came on the board in '88.
Okay.
So Spencer and I, my husband and I, we became board members in 1988.
So, you're not ready for this. It's off the cuff. But if you can give some kind of advice to moms, parents, about homeschooling, what's your favorite thing to say? Just remember this or do this.
Well, I think overall, my favorite thing to say is something that my mom said to me, and that's enjoy your kids.
Enjoy your kids.
I could almost cry when I say it.
Absolutely.
Because she said that to us so many times. She said, enjoy your kids. I enjoyed you.
Yeah.
So it makes me emotional because my mom had a rough life. And she was a single parent, had to work a lot. But she just said, enjoy your kids. And I think that's just so important, to enjoy them. If you enjoy them and they feel enjoyed,
Yeah.
it makes such a difference in how they see themselves and how they feel about themselves and how you see homeschooling. And if homeschooling is making you not enjoy your kids, then you need to reevaluate how you're homeschooling.
That's right.
So,
And I loved what you added. Isn't just enjoy them, but do they feel enjoyed?
yes.
That's really neat. Because
Yeah.
that changes their whole experience
Yeah.
of whether they know that their parents are focusing on them and enjoying them.
Yeah. I mean, but if you enjoy them, they will feel enjoyed.
Yeah.
I mean, it just follows.
Yeah.
You don't have to say,
You don't
I
have
enjoy
to try
you.
that extra thing.
Yeah, it's just that they know they're enjoyed. But I think it's
That's
really
great.
important for them. Yeah.
Well, thanks, and thanks for the conference and all you do.
Thank you. I do enjoy it. This is just the first day of the conference is the roughest time to talk about how much I enjoy it.
We'll ask you later.
Yeah, ask me in July.
All right, so I love that. Enjoy your kids.
Oh, it's so important.
And
and
it's easy to forget.
It is.
You get frustrated.
Yes.
You know.
Especially when you're in the thick of homeschooling, it's hard to remember that, but it's so
That's right.
important.
And when you do, it's so nice.
It
I mean,
is.
your attitude changes and you can enjoy it, which is our goal, right?
Absolutely.
To homeschool with confidence and joy.
That's right.
All right, so let's have a live version again of Homeschool Helps with Amanda.
So welcome again to Homeschool Helps with Amanda. Today we are talking about preschool, teaching your preschool age children at home. Now, you would be surprised the number of questions that I get, that I see out on social media, in emails and phone calls about homeschooling preschool, but There's a lot out there.
Okay.
A lot of people are really, they want to keep their kids home, but they're concerned about it. So that's why we're talking about it today. There's a few things that I want to just impress on you, those of you that are teaching, that are homeschooling your preschooler, is first of all, we are all truly homeschooling from birth.
Okay.
In this sense, every single parent is a homeschooling parent. From the moment that that precious little one is born, they're learning from you, right? You absolutely are your child's best teacher. Think about it. You teach your child all kinds of things, right? You teach them words, to colors, to tying their shoes, the world around them. Why should school be any different? It doesn't have to be. Now, the idea of preschool outside the home, sending a child to preschool, is a fairly new phenomenon. And the idea that children need to be away from their parents to learn is a very new idea as well. Be empowered and encouraged. You have already been teaching your little one and doing an excellent job of it. You can continue just naturally and preschool at home. Now, I know from personal experience, there is a lot of pressure out there to send your child somewhere outside the home for preschool. When my older kids were little, I was the only mom on our whole block that didn't send my kids to preschool.
Wow.
So I know that pressure really well. Yes. So I am here to encourage you that you are your child's best teacher, and it absolutely is in their best interest to keep them home for preschool. So what's the best approach to preschool at home? In my opinion, first of all, less is more. Okay? When it comes to anything academic for these preschool ages, less is definitely more. They're already learning so fast, and they learn best through playing, and natural experiences. There really isn't a need for anything that looks like formal academics. I would absolutely encourage you to follow your child's lead as well. Now, I had a child, my third, she watched her older siblings doing school. And so she desperately wanted to be just like them and have her own school time complete with books. She was not happy without that. She really wanted it bad. So I got her a little workbook that had some developmentally appropriate activities in it, and that seemed to satisfy her need and desire to do school like her siblings without pushing academics too early. Now, another thing I cannot emphasize enough for any age really, but especially in these preschool ages, is read. Read to your children. Now, studies show that reading to your child is the most crucial factor in future academic success. Read to them. Go to the library. Make reading time enjoyable. In addition to so much learning and brain development and all the things, it's also a beautiful bonding time for you and your children. You can literally learn all the subjects just from reading together. So read, read, read. It is so important. Now, the last thing that I would encourage as a good preschool at home strategy is to go on field trips. And at these ages, almost anything can be a field trip. Go explore your world together. I'll give you some suggestions. You can go to different parks. We've got tons of them in North Carolina. You can go visit the fire station. You can go to the grocery store and talk about what is there. That's so much learning going on. Go to the pumpkin patch, the local dairy farm, and on and on and on. And a little plug, you can come to some of our NCHE field trips, like the Danville Science Center. That's a great one. That's perfect for preschoolers. The possibilities are endless, and you would be amazed at how much your little ones learn from field trips. So I hope that I have encouraged you and empowered you as you teach your preschoolers at home. I really hope that I've helped today.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
It is so helpful. And I know that people are wondering about this season of life, and so if this has been helpful to you and you know other people who who are asking the question about preschool, you can share this with them as well. We're so glad you joined us today. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have some questions that we can answer, some topics you'd like us to address. You can email us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. You can also see how to follow us on YouTube or on some of the podcast platforms by going to the show page, which is the nche.com/thehomeschoolshow. We would love for you to share this show with as many people as you can so that they can also be encouraged. And until next week, continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.
Bye-bye.